I'm Alec Gilmore. I'm joined by Connor McCool, All-American gymnast, active member of the Illinois men's gymnastics team. There are few people out there that know any sport better than Connor knows gymnastics. It is a pleasure to share the headset with you once more, Connor, and especially for such an exciting competition. We have three teams, all with postseason aspirations, regardless of background, trajectory in their season. They are all looking ahead. We are in the month of March. We are right in the thick of it. The hosting Illinois Fighting Illini of the Big Ten, the Kentucky Wildcats coming from the mighty SEC, and then in-state rivals, if you will, in the Illinois State Redbirds. So Connor, let's start with Illinois. They're steadily improving over the course of the season, set a solid mark with the 196.875 in their previous outing. So not a bad showing whatsoever in their Ohio State tri-meet last weekend. They're coming in here 22nd ranked in the country, middle of the road in a strong Big Ten, but still with lofty goals. How was Illinois coming into today, Connor?
Illinois had a strong season. They haven't really had any tough meets yet. Like, compared to last season, they did have a really slow start. This one, they've been relatively consistent all year. Unfortunately, that consistency hasn't been putting a full meet together. They're looking for that 197 number they got a few times at the conclusion of last season, especially at regionals, going that 197.475. So today they're looking to finally break that coveted number, especially with the regional seeding. If they can dip too low into the high 20s, then they could potentially have to participate in the play-in round, which is really not ideal, having to do 3 back-to-back competitions. So making sure they stay in that low 20 range, maybe get up into the top 20 would be good for their confidence and good for their seeding into the regional championships. And then just, confidence-wise, going into Big Tens, it's a super stacked conference this year, so having that confidence, knowing they're capable of really big numbers is important going into the conference championships in the next couple weeks.
You mentioned a 197 number. The Kentucky Wildcats are going to probably mark that number as a big-time mark to hit today. The Wildcats, second in the SEC. They are locked in below the top-seeded Florida for the regular season, but still a very, very strong team. 12th in the country, consistently top 10 under head coach Tim Garrison. And we mentioned the 197 number. It's a 197.05, I believe, that they are marking. Why is that, Connor?
Actually, I was incorrect about the numbers. 197.325 after Auburn's performance yesterday bumped their NQS up a little bit more. So they're looking for that 197.325 to get themselves into the night session at SECs, which not required to win the SEC championships, but tends to have more favorable judging. That's where the more talented teams are. That's the team who's going to win is going to be in that night session. So between Auburn and Kentucky, they want to be there.
Now, as far as Illinois State goes, they're the more local of the two visitors here today from Normal, Illinois, not too far away from Champaign. Illinois State, definitely the underdog team of these three, but still plenty to prove in their own right. They've seen a lot of development as a program, even in the last couple of years. There have been 2 gymnasts in team history to make it to the NCAA championships, and both are competing here today. How is Illinois State approaching today?
Honestly, they just want to put a big meet together. They have an incredibly talented roster, really stacked vault lineup, and I see some beautiful beam work among other events. Looking at the Metroplex Challenge, they almost took down perennial power Georgia at that meet. So they absolutely have talent and the capability to score mid to high 196. They just need to put it together today. And looking at their key players like Angelica Labat, Alana Laster, and Jay Mack, she was one of the qualifiers to the NCAA championships last year on Florida. They just want to put together a really complete performance going into the MAC championships in the next couple of weeks.
So we're just a couple of minutes away from getting things started here. It is 3 teams that will be competing at all times. We'll have a Connor McCool specialty in just one moment as we get into competition. But right now, Illinois warming up in their icy white uniforms today here on the vault, which is right before us.
A debut for this Leo for senior night. It's definitely a little bit of a departure from the traditional Illinois style. I really appreciate that Natalie Walsh and Caitlin Betts are really trying to innovate the leotard lineup that they had from when I stepped in as a freshman at Illinois. It's a completely different lineup, much more modernized, and really keeping up with the big programs like Kentucky SEC program, something like that, where they really invest a lot into the uniforms for competition. So I really appreciate that they've put a lot of emphasis into that.
Mia Town showing it off on that last warm-up on the vault. Meanwhile, Kentucky in the blue warming up on the uneven bars to get things started here again. Just a very strong team all across the board. Definitely considered the favorites here today. They last competed against Illinois 3 years ago, and in fact, it was the final meet before the pandemic began. March 6, 2020, their final competition mentioned prior to the world changing. So maybe a full circle moment here as they close out their regular seasons against each other. But there you see on the uneven bars, Kentucky getting set in just a couple of moments. And then Illinois State in the black with red trim. They will be on the balance beam to get things going. And once again, we'll bounce around as much as we can. There will be live scores updated on all three respective university websites. So if you want to keep up with live individual scoring, we'll have official event scores as we get them over the course of the broadcast, and we'll try to keep it up. But there you go, folks. You see it now. Connor McCool was pleased as soon as he saw. We'll have a TriCast for you to get as much action here captured as possible.
Absolutely. These are three very talented teams that I want to see every single routine from. I'm sure the crowd and the viewers on BTN Plus would love to see as well. So I'm excited that we're able to watch or show every single routine today.
You just got the view of the Illinois men's gymnastics team contingent that has arrived here today. Connor normally among them, a very active member of this team, but we'll show neutrality and we'll appreciate some world-class gymnastics that we are set to see here.
Absolutely.
So teams are making their final huddles, final couple of preparatory measures.
Finishing up the touch warm-up here. Starting off with Illinois on vault, they really need to find some landings today. That's where they've kind of struggled. Last week, didn't break that 49 mark, which is pretty important to get to that 197 mark. A 197 is an average of a 49.25 on each event. Did have a program record on beam to help pull them up, but a 49.25 on vault would really help. And they have the talent to do it in this lineup. They just need some sticks. Got 2 10-0 start values of Mia Towns and Rutu Nataraj.
You can see at the start of the track there, Abby Miller will lead things off on the vault here today for the Illini, a 9.75 in their last competition. We'll see what she has today.
Looking for a stick as Haley Davis finishes up vault with a beautiful double layout. And there it is. Maybe a hop in place on the Yurchenko fold, but that is the start Illinois was looking for. Kentucky also starting off incredibly well with Haley Davis. Beautiful Jaeger and that straight body double layout. She's more known for her floor work, but she does an incredible bar set as well. But Abby Miller, Illinois is very happy with that.
She gets the boa there for the Wildcats as Haley Davis. They're going to count it a stuck dismount, so we'll see how the judges see it. We'll get that score for you. It'll be updated shortly, and then the first beam routine underway for the Redbirds as well.
The vault judges in Huff Hall last go out were not particularly friendly to either team, even with the talented Michigan State lineup. So interesting to see if they have a similar energy. But Julia Waite, she has come off 2 stuck vaults this season, back-to-back really, so she does a different Yurchenko half. Score comes in for Abby Miller, 9.75, about right, but they're not going to be throwing anything wild on vault. These aren't those high judges you might see in different parts of the country, but Julia Waite's going to show us a Yurchenko half twist. With Sarah Wabi going for us on the balance beam for Illinois State. Dismounting with a beautiful gainer full and stuck dismount. Let's see what Julia Waite can put together for us today. A different vault, one less half twist, and another stuck landing. Julia Waite, you couldn't pay her to take a step on these landings this year. Unbelievable.
And it's outstanding work by Julia Waite, the senior of Naperville, Illinois. Hit a 9.825 in the last outing. We'll see what she is rewarded with. I imagine she will raise that mark.
Goodness, I hope so. Jillian Prokowski showing us off a beautiful Maloney directly into pack. She's going to show us all around for the second time this year. This first time was last week. Beautiful Maloney to pack on the low bar, and then a giant full to double back, and a stuck landing. Incredible second go for Kentucky following Haley Davis's 9.8, who failed to get the stuck landing, but that one should tick up a bit, as I hope Julia Waite does, just with that half-tenth, a 9.8. So you'll see Julia Waite, see the stuck landing, probably expecting a bigger score. Where Julia struggles a little bit is in the body position. You're expecting an entirely laid out body. She had a little bit of a break in the hips. We call that a pike. So that's where they're going to get that deduction from, why it wasn't in that 9.9 range like you expect.
You saw Jillian Prokowski get the boa for the Wildcats following her bars routine here.
Michaela Green up with the full twist in Yurchenko, looking for the landing, and quite a big step, and you'll see that she did go over those new boundary lines. So not an auto deduction, but it does give the judges an incredible frame of reference to know she wasn't directly centered down the mat as prescribed for vault. So that one's probably going to tick a little bit lower than we saw from Abby Miller. Probably the score they're going to want to drop. Hopefully we can find the landings for Illinois in these next couple of vaults.
There's a slight delay on the balance beam for Illinois State. These are generally faster-paced events, vault and bars, so it'll be the beam that likely finishes last. Michaela Green with a 9.8, by the way.
Excuse me, I was wrong. They did. So Michaela Green does excel in the height and dynamics. I was wondering some judges just value different things when they look for different things. Perhaps these judges are really looking at height and distance. Michaela Green had more of that than Abby Miller, despite a weaker landing.
You're seeing there Sarah Wabia 9.075, how to fall on the beam. Now for the vault here.
Oh, unfortunately, Caden Fitzgibbon really went for a big vault and just did not absorb the landing. Could have been a stick, but just kind of bounced out of it due to locked legs. So that's going to score pretty weakly, unfortunately. Michaela Green still going 9.8 is not a big deal, so hopefully they can drop it. Looking at Bailey Bunn on the uneven bars. She was a really great all-arounder her freshman year and then had an ACL tear, and is back this year looking excellent. Nice Jaeger. Missed that high bar cast a handstand, but comes back with a nice bail.
Unfortunate there on the beam, by the way, a fall there. This is Illinois State's Caitlin Donovan.
Unfortunate for them. That's kind of been the story for them this year. They have incredible talent, but just struggling to put together. Unlike Kentucky over there, a second stuck landing.
That's another stick for Bailey Bunn and the Kentucky Wildcats. Bunn, the junior of Greenville,
Tim
North
Garrison
Carolina.
for Kentucky is a superstar at conditioning these athletes to stick. That's his focus every year, and it shows up every single time with this bar lineup. Going 2 for 3 in the first 3 routines. Coming up for Mia Towns on the vault. Going to show us a Yurchenko 1.5. She has been doing some stunning ones this year.
Looking to improve vaulter.
Beautiful. A little bit lock-legged on the landing. You see that bit of a pogo stick landing. Perhaps maybe would have been able to absorb it a little better had she bent, but it's that dynamics-wise, better height, better distance, and a little bit better form than we've seen. So interesting to see if the judges are willing to reward that into the 9.9s or if it'll be in the 9.85 range like we've seen for some other vaults from her.
So not bad work there by Mia Towns. Caitlin Donovan's routine comes to a close. Judges will deliberate there as that's 2 beam routines now. Now next on the uneven bars, it's Caitlin DeGuzman for the Kentucky Wildcats, and this is following the judge score of a 9.9 for Bailey Bunn.
Absolutely deserved. It was a stunning routine.
That's a fantastic score. That's going to better her previous mark of 9.875. In all but one of her appearances this season, Bailey Bunn has had a 9.825 or better. She's been very consistent for this very strong Kentucky team.
9.85 comes through for Mia Towns. Probably deducted as a bigger hop, maybe a full 10th, but Caitlin DeGuzman is a beautiful bar swinger. And we'll also see Rutu Nadaraj coming off the vault. Is she going to throw the 10-0 start today? And she does, and it was stunning. Lacked some control on the landing. They could take for both of those steps. Interesting to see what they do, but Caitlin DeGuzman finished up with a massive double layout and another stick. Maybe didn't show complete control on that one, so the judges could take half 10th, but Kentucky is on. They're coming for that number. They know what they need, and it's absolutely in the back of their minds today that they want to make it to that SEC evening session, and they need a big performance today. Hard to do on the road, but so far they're showing that they're very capable of it. Rutu Nadaraj comes through 9.80, so they did penalize her pretty heavily for that landing, but it's going to tick up over into the 49 flat range for Illinois. A little improvement over their last home meet, but definitely a slower start than we're looking for. Still struggling to get some sticks, but Illinois State on the beam. 2 falls, unfortunately, start the rotation with Mia Takakawa exhibitioning a stuck Yurchenko full.
Well, she'll be happy with that one. The Illini will probably wish that one was scored. Mia Takakawa, normally an all-arounder for this season for the Illini, but taking that exhibition slot today, getting rotations in for the rest of this team, will still get the benefit of seeing her score momentarily. It's Joy Ziegenfelder in the meantime on the beam for the Illinois State Redbirds.
Another 9.875 comes through for Caitlin DeGuzman. What a bar rotation they're putting together, and I don't expect it to stop with Shaylin Luxett coming up. She's got a beautiful bar set, and then capping off with their star all-arounder, Raina Worley, who's got a career high of 9.95 and on pretty much every event 9.975 on the floor exercise, which is her specialty. So they've got their back two lineup are no slouch by any means. 9.825 comes through for Mia Takakawa. Would have been nice to have in the lineup, but can never know how people are going to compete sometimes. Beautiful ray for Shaylin Luxett. A little bit soft back in that kick cast handstand going into her bail.
Ball rotation has come to a close for Illinois. Aaliyah Burns exhibition, the second and final that Illinois will have in rotation number 1. So still
beautiful double layout for Shaylin, and it was stuck. That is 4 for 5 stuck dismounts to start the Kentucky Wildcats did with still Raina Worley to go. So clearly whatever they're doing over there in Lexington for landing work is paying off.
There is sticky feet with the Kentucky Wildcats here today. Now for a team that is so strong, you might think 19th in the country on bars is not quite the mark you would expect for Kentucky. Again, 12th in the country, but they have shown their elite bar rotation to this point. We're seeing Joyce Ziegenfelder with a 9.6, I believe it'll be a 9.65, and that it will. So it'll be the best score of the day so far. It's been a tough start in this beam rotation for Illinois State, who you don't want to put up a good score and make a good impression, good rotation. So maybe this will reverse things.
Stopping the bleeding is important. Falls can be contagious, so being that athlete that can go up and hit, even though there's 2 preceding falls, is important. Alana Laster going up for Illinois State. She's a really nice beam worker. Hopefully she can capitalize on the momentum brought back from Ziegenfelder. A little bit of a wobble on that split jump into the split 3/4. A third 9.875 for Shaylin Luksick.
That indeed.
And Rayla Werdy's coming up, and she's got a beautiful bar set as well with a nice front toss over on the balance beam for Alana Laster. Going up for her series. Should be a back handspring layout step out. And that it is. Oh, unfortunately, it's just
slips just
not
off.
square on the beam. Couldn't get her chest up over her center of mass, but so 3 falls for Illinois State. Beautiful kip cast handstand there for Rayna Worley. Clear hip into the Tkachev. She's really worked hard to improve the height of that, and her knee bend that she tended to have her freshman and sophomore year is just about gone. Pack salto to the low bar. That low bar pirouette is a little bit difficult. She might have been a touch over. Oh, what control. Really squeezed her core to make sure she didn't go over the wrong side, but finishes with, I love this half in, half out dismount. Oh.
Slightest step, we'll see if
We'll see. It looked like that left foot moved. Maybe the judge on the right will give her the benefit and the judge on the left will not, but I'd expect that to be at least that 9.875 number just because the rest of it was so well done.
9.875 sounds about right. It was a 9.9 in their last outing against Auburn. She came tied for second in the meet with that mark. Rayna Worley, we're going to see a lot from her today. It's absolutely beautiful gymnastics that she has in store. She's going to close out the scoring for this first rotation for Kentucky. They'll have a couple more exhibitions probably. Looks like they'll have one in Annie Reigert, so she will take a moment to focus in. Meanwhile, for the Redbirds, still closing out on the balance beam. They have elongated this rotation a little bit with a couple of falls. We saw the last one there for the Redbirds. Alana Laster just wanted to get that final dismount in, so that was the conclusion of her rotation.
It's an unfortunate rotation for the Illinois State Redbirds. As I said, at the Metroplex Challenge, they put together 6 beautiful beam routines, and they hung with those people like Georgia, like Illinois. So really just being able to put it together for them is important. Looks like Rayna Worley came through with a 9.925, perhaps got the benefit on that dismount, just fought to stay in place, but it was an impeccable bar routine.
Well, and this has been a good way to see how these judges are going to judge over the course of the day. This has been a very telling first rotation, as you might imagine, and as we get underway here back on the balance beam, it's Narelle Bart-Williams.
Yeah, did well to stay on the beam on that back handspring layout. She was quite off, stayed tight in her core, and made sure that she minimized the deduction to probably just a half-tenth wobble. A beat jump into the split 3/4, maybe missed that 180-degree requirement as Kentucky goes with an exhibition that we're not seeing on the uneven bars, but it does look really nice with the bail to the low bar. But going through this beam routine, really important just to get as many hit sets now in these last 2 routines, and she's going for a dismount, cartwheel gainer full, she gets the stick. So that was a really nice beam set. I expect that to be their highest score by maybe a tenth or 2. So really well done for her. It's really hard to go up there and go for perfection in a routine when you know you've had falls before you and you're really just trying to stay on the beam. So the focus is different, but having that mental fortitude that she just showed us, that she's able to really go for it despite having falls. So
there will be one more scored routine. Angelica Labad will be the closer for the scoring on the balance beam. Illinois State will be counting at least 2 falls in this first rotation. So I guess the first priority for Labad will be to make sure it is only 2.
Absolutely. She shows us a really beautiful series, back handspring into 2 layout step outs. We don't see a ton of them, but she is a premier balance beam worker, perhaps known more for her Yurchenko 1.5 on vault that she tends to stick very often for the Redbirds. But
they're taking their time on this final score. The first rotation on the uneven bars for Kentucky has reached its conclusion, so It is all eyes on the Redbirds right now as the gymnasts get a bit of an extended break here. That's something that's a little bit different about those bigger meets. You have those impromptu longer breaks or maybe even shorter breaks depending on what your team situation is. So maybe disrupts the rhythm a little bit, Connor?
Yeah, in a dual meet fashion, the meets or the teams just alternate. So you kind of know exactly what's going on. You don't go until the other score is posted. So you're not really waiting on anybody like they are typically in a tri-meet where everyone's just kind of going. But 9.725 comes in for Narelle Bart-Williams, so a high for this lineup. I maybe expected it to break into the 9.8s, but they might have hit her for that lack of split in the leap combination, but still much better than a fall, of course. And Alana Laster is a seasoned veteran at this point in her career for Illinois State, so the expectation is she goes up and she really hits this set.
And now to close things out here on the scores for this first rotation, it is Angelica Labat. She will be taking the balance beam at a 9.875 to win the title between them and Southeast Missouri State in their previous outing. Very clean first move on the beam.
Front aerial is really, really spectacular. Really good form. Some people have soft knees in it, but there you go. The back handspring layout.
Slight adjustment, but
just
she continues.
We've seen some triple series from the Illinois State lineup before. We didn't see any today. Maybe went with a different lineup, but a nice full turn. She works very calmly, has really good rhythm. That's an important thing that the judges are looking for, that you just flow from one skill to another. There aren't a lot of concentration pauses. Switch leap into switch half. I believe it was supposed to be a switch half. She didn't quite get her feet around, so the potential is the judges downgrade that from the E switch half to the C or D switch side, excuse me. So interested to see what they do, but she's going to finish up with back handspring 1.5 and a little bit of a hop, but a good finish for them. Only having to count the 2 falls when it could have been worse is important for them to going into this rest of this competition.
She showed the poise that you would want from a senior of Chesapeake, Virginia. Angelica Labat has competed in all events since her very first meet her freshman year. She has certainly been a long and hard worker for this Illinois State team, and they're certainly happy to close out with a solid routine. So they will be counting 2 falls, will the Redbirds. Regardless of how competitive they may have been at the get-go, it'll certainly be a mountain to climb if they want to score up with Illinois and Kentucky, but still plenty of gymnastics to be done here. They're slating one more exhibition here. It'll be Leah Davis if they follow through with it. It looks like they're going to, so we will see Leah Davis, the freshman of Manchester, Missouri, not too far away from the state of Illinois. And she'll get the words of encouragement from a couple of the associate coaches on staff. Megan Harrington and Jessica Yemzon with the Redbirds under head coach Bob Conkling with 40 years of experience under his belt. It's his 17th with Illinois State. And although he's not on scene, on frame at this moment, he's certainly well involved with this team. I'm sure we'll see plenty of him over the course of the day. But Megan Harrington, in the meantime, 4th year with the program.
Jessica Yemzon, I believe, is her first year with the program, coming from Lindenwood as a volunteer, but she's from your neck of the woods. She was a star at the University of Arkansas all 4 years. Was really just known for being that rock, led off basically every routine, did all around for almost every single year, every single meet of her career. She was just a rock for them, hopefully instilling some of that mental fortitude she had in her Illinois State athletes.
We'll get the official event scores for you in a moment, but first, all eyes on Leah Davis to close out the first quarter of action here.
What Leah Davis is thinking about right now is there's an opportunity to break into this beam lineup. They've had a couple falls, not just today, but at a couple different meets this season. So knowing that it's up in the air, they don't really have a solid 6. If she can showcase a good performance, show she can game up in a meet despite who goes before her, that's important. And a back handspring layout, little bit of a wobble, but stayed on the beam. So each skill in gymnastics has different values. That back handspring layout, the layout step is worth a D. That'll give her 1/10 of bonus to her start value. You need 6 to start out of a 10. Some skills don't have any bonus value, like that full turn is just worth an A, but it's required for every routine, so everyone will do it. It's gonna show off a front toss. That's a D skill into the split jump. You need to keep moving in order to get those connections. As you saw, she connected the front toss into the split jump to get bonus. I believe she kept moving enough to get that connection, but they might take deduction for it being too slow. So there's a beat jump into split 3/4, a popular combination for the Illinois State Redbirds. That's the 3rd we've seen from this lineup. Worth a lot. The split 3/4 is a D move into the just seemingly simple beat jump, but it does give it an additional 10th bonus and fulfills a requirement. and then a cartwheel 1.5, just a step, but a hit routine, and that's what Illinois State is looking for. They want 6 people that can go up and hit, regardless of maybe your top-end potential. 6 hits is most important.
Leah Davis has seen some scored routines in her freshman campaign, so she's already well and truly inundated with this balance beam rotation, so she'll be happy to get some more reps in, even if it's not among the scoring 6. So we'll await the official scores here in this first rotation, but strong work by the Wildcats on the balance beam. Illinois solid on the vault. Redbirds embattled on the beam, but they get through this first rotation. So we'll go into a short break here at Huff Hall as the teams transition into their second event here on Big Ten Plus. We welcome you back here on Big Ten Plus to George Huff Hall, the University of Illinois, hosting the Kentucky Wildcats and Illinois State Redbirds in a March tri-meet. I'm joined by Connor McCool, active member of the Illinois men's gymnastics team. You've been a part of some high-level gymnastics yourself, Connor. So in this kind of meet, as you're closing out the regular season, the postseason's looming large. We're getting a look at some first rotation highlights here. Kentucky very strong on the uneven bars. It was a 49.45 that they registered, so on pace to match an earlier program high this season of a 197.875. Not a bad way to get things going. Here, Illinois, a 49 flat on the vault, so not bad all things considered. This is a team, out of the 4 events, they probably rank 4th best of those 4 on the vault. So plenty of great gymnastics to come for all 3 of these teams. But just going back to what I was saying earlier, Connor, as you're in the month of March, you're closing out the regular season, you have those aspirations of the postseason. Is it easy to kind of look past the regular season meet when you're thinking about postseason, or are you just kind of taking it day by day? How are you kind of?
I think it's a mix of both. Honestly, day by day is important, but they're trying to lock in their lineups. All 3 of these teams want lineups that they have competed regularly, know what it's like to be in a competition, high-level competition such as this one, going into their respective conference championships. So there's not going to be a ton of shuffling around in the lineups for any of these teams going into these last couple weeks, because they want seasoned competitors going into their championships. So really just finalizing like more stuck dismounts, going in and just refining everything. That's what today's for. Getting a high score is for their confidence and just knowing that when they go into the conference championships, they're ready and that they've done it multiple times.
These 2 teams in Illinois and Kentucky of these bigger conferences, if you will, have seen upward trajectories over the course of the season. Illinois coming off of their season high against Ohio State in the Ohio State tri-meet a week ago. Kent State also featuring there as they came in 2nd place against the Buckeyes, falling there last weekend. So that's their best at 196.875. As Connor mentioned earlier, still looking to hit a 197. That would be huge for this Illinois team this weekend. Kentucky, meanwhile, obviously trying to set the bar higher and higher. Again, they may be out of contention for the top spot in the SEC regular season, but night session still very much on the cards. A 197.325 is what they need, and they are on pace to reach that mark to this point.
And they're an impressive beam team. They have some incredible competitors. As you're looking at right now on screen is Isabella Magnelli, coming out swinging this year. She's gotten 2 9.975s. A beautiful exercise she puts together that is so solid every single time. Looking at Raina Worley, obviously is an incredible competitor for them, among other people in their lineup. So if they can keep up that 49.45 range that they're looking at, they're going to be headed for a great score. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Illinois State coming on floor. This is their strongest lineup, I would say, by far. And coming off of a pretty weak balance beam performance, they're going to want to perform and do some explosive tumbling to maybe make up for that lower score.
No doubt about that. We're getting underway in the second rotation. Illinois will be on the uneven bars. You see Kentucky will be on the balance beam. And as Connor said, Illinois State with the floor exercise in their second rotation of the day. But it looks like the Illini will get things underway first, and it will be through Rachel Borden, a seasoned veteran of this Illinois team. She's had a remarkable story to get to this point, to leading off here on this bars rotation. She's been more exclusively a bars worker this season, normally competing on the beam as well, but here she's taken charge in this important leadoff position, which she will have today. But here you see for Illinois State, Sarah Wabi opening things up on the floor, gets the attention of the judges, salutes, and begins. And for Kentucky, it'll be Shaylin Luxick underway on the beam.
Hopefully we can pivot back to that triple screen, but
we did have the TriCast earlier. We'll see if they'll be able to get it back underway. In the meantime, though, Sarah Wabi gets her floor routine underway.
Shaylin Luxick is getting going on the balance beam. The beautiful back handspring layout step out without a wobble.
You see Shaylin Luxick on the beam meanwhile.
Rachel Borden is going on the bars. Give you updates. Jaeger to Bale, cool and collected as usual, just has her dismount finishing up, and we are almost back to the 3 cameras. Just a wobble there for Shaylin Luxick on the beam. And if I had to bet money on someone to stick a dismount, I wouldn't, but if I had to, it would be Rachel Borden in that front 1.5 twist. She sticks it every time.
Important distinction.
Her feet might have been a touch short of that twist, but definitely cannot take for a hop. Shaylin Luxick gearing up for a dismount, gainer pike, a step, not the routine maybe they would have wanted to keep up with that 49.425 pace, but obviously can drop the low score. Finishing up, this is a beautiful Rudy to layout step out for Sarah Wabi.
Beautiful from Sarah Wabi.
Maybe a little bit, used to be a unusual pass. People are finding out that it's worth quite a lot. 3/10 just in that pass, and it's very easy to stick because you land it 1 foot at a time. So excellent end to her routine.
Well, Sarah Wabi, that's a good way to set the tone if you're Illinois State, who again had an embattled balance beam routine, had to record 3 falls in their first 3 routines, and so they'll be looking to get off to a better start here on the floor exercise routine. We apologize, we're having some slight technical difficulties. It's been lights out early, if you will, for Illinois on the uneven bars, quite literally for our camera. So we'll hopefully get that figured out as soon as possible, but in the meantime, we'll bounce as much as we can. Second beam worker for the Kentucky Wildcats here. It'll be Jillian Prokaski,
yes,
the all-arounder here for the Wildcats today, 1 of 2. Getting set to start as they deliberate for Shaylin Luxick's score. It'll be a 9.725, it appears. Well, maybe just a 9.72, which would be a bit of a groundbreaking score.
Yeah,
it is, in fact, a 9.725. They did get the scoreboard figured out for Shaylin Luxick.
Going for the uneven bars, following a 9.8 for Rachel Borden. Solid start. Nice Jaeger. She transitions to a pack salto to the low bar, and it was very well done. And gets that low bar handstand relatively on top as Jillian Prokaski mounts the beam following that maybe low score for the Kentucky Wildcat standards of a 9.725 for Shaylin Luxick, but finishing up with a full out dismount and a little bit of a hop back, better than a hop forward where they tend to penalize a little more heavily. Jillian Prokaski's going to show off her series. It's a back handspring layout step out, and really well done. She looked a tiny bit off, but in her experience, she got her hands up over the center of gravity to make sure she stayed tight and without a wobble.
Alana Laster, meanwhile, underway on the floor for the Redbirds. Another all-arounder in competition now. Very strong start to her routine, and then you can see the finishing stages of Jillian Prokaski's balance beam rotation.
Really big leaps for Alana Laster, that wolf full into the split full, and a huge leap for Jillian Prokaski she attempted is a switch ring. It's an E-valued leap, and you lose sight of the beam. Did it relatively well. Maybe didn't hit the position prescribed exactly, so they might deduct, but that was a nice front area on the beat jump. Maybe some deductions here and there for leap positioning, but without a wobble so far.
She's shown great poise to this point. Mallory Mizuki underway on the uneven bars.
Another gainer pike dismount, but another little bit of a step. So that dismount's great because it's relatively easy and easy to stick, but in their first 2 goes, unlike the uneven bars, they're struggling to get the landings.
Alana Laster, meanwhile, having fun with the finishing stages of her floor exercise routine, as is the rest of her team.
Great showmanship from her on the floor every time.
This is what makes
9.875 for
what a
Katie
score
Ewald.
for Kaylin Ewald.
unbelievable without a stick too. Similar to Raina Worley, they really are rewarding uneven bar routines that are well done on the bar. Actually, Mallory Mizuki is an expert at that. Look at these beautiful handstands. Pike Jaeger on the bar, a nice bail to the low bar. She's going to finish up with a giant folded double back. Looking for the stick.
Big dismount here for Mallory Mizuki.
Hung off a little bit early, but kept the landing deduction to a minimum. They could deduct for the height of the dismount. You're really supposed to have your hips at least bar height. She did not get that, unfortunately, but quite a bit of a redemption from last year at her, what she thought was going to be her senior night. She did have a fall, but ended up deciding to take her 5th year and got some redemption tonight, so that's exciting. Bailey Bunn's going to come up here on the balance beam. She is a premier balance beam worker for the University of Kentucky, following Prokaski's 9.875, which is a great score coming off of Luck 6 lower 9.725. So definitely getting some momentum here into the later balance beam sets for Kentucky.
She has a bit of momentum herself, Bailey Bunn, a 9.9 on her uneven bars routine. She'll be hoping to replicate that level of performance here. She had a 9.8 in the last outing against Auburn. She'll be hoping to better that score as well.
There's one of those triple series, back handspring to 2 layout step outs. A bit of a wobble, so it's a risk reward, but Alana Laster just showed off a 9.85, which is
big
an
score
excellent score for the Illinois State Redbirds. Coming off of Sarah Wabi's 9.825, so 2 incredible scores for them. Switch leap to split jump, small bobble there for Bailey Bunn, and didn't quite get the 180-degree split for the switch leap, but still chugging along. She does a great double twist dismount. It's worth a D this year, so she gets a 10th bonus for doing the round off into it and for just doing the skill itself. So 2/10 of her 6 just on this dismount. Hopefully she can grab the stick, and she did. That's a tougher dismount to stick.
It does look like she did. The right foot may have moved just
maybe, but Amelia Knight has been swapped into this bar lineup, into a beautiful ray. First time we've seen her this year. I can't tell how that bail went. I was not looking at the right screen, but giant full right on top. She has a big double back, and she gets the stick. What a lineup debut for Amelia Knight this year with a new release move. She's been struggling in practice, but she's gotten it consistent, got into the lineup, and she's a top scorer for them, so it's important they got her back in this lineup.
Big Amelia Knight routine, the English national junior this year. Puts up a good score on the uneven bars, undoubtedly. We'll see the final verdict momentarily. Judges deliberating for Bailey Bunn's balance beam routine, and then here for the Redbirds, Caitlin Donovan underway on the floor.
She's going to show us a front layout into Rudy. That's another 3/10 pass. Worth a lot and really well done. She saw that Rudy went up after the front layout. You want that second skill on a combination pass to rise. She did that in a difficult Wolf 1.5. A lot of people attempt that D leap because of its value, but cheat it quite heavily either at the beginning or ending, but that looked pretty well done to me. And Bailey Bunn penalized a little bit for her wobbles, but a 9.8 is still quite a solid score despite the mistakes.
They'll be pleased with that one. We'll see.
Ariana Patterson mounting the beam for Kentucky. I believe, yes, so.
Indeed it is.
She's a really nice, I like the floatiness of her gymnastics. Maybe a little bit riskier when you try and actually go for height in your skills. You're really just focusing on staying on, but she showcases amplitude.
9.875, by the way, for Amelia Knight,
and the
so
Illini
not a bad outing at all.
Have been missing that in their lineup this year. Super excited to have her back. She did that in the exhibition spot last week, but Olivia O'Donnell, senior, showcasing. Unfortunate a fall there for her straddle Jaeger. She caught her heels on the low bar, which just tends to mess up your timing. So she got off a little bit early after hitting it, slowed down her momentum, and came off. That is really unfortunate. She tends to be a very consistent competitor. Hopefully she can get back up and minimize deductions from here on out. But a beautiful front aerial for Ariana Patterson. She's a really nice beam worker, known more for her vaulting, but really good competitor and showing a beautiful routine today. Beautiful line, straight legs, pointed toes. She's going to show a switch leap into a switch leap, and those were 180-degree splits. If you're curious what that looked like, there were 2 of them. Caitlin Donovan, another 9.85.
Another strong score. That is huge for Illinois State. Sarah Wabi's 9.825, the lowest to this point. So good work on the floor. Olivia O'Donnell back underway for the Illini.
Repeats her connection beautifully. That's the bar swinging we're used to seeing from Olivia O'Donnell. And there's that stuck landing for the gainer pike for Ariana Patterson, I believe. That's what they've been looking for. A very popular dismount for the Kentucky Wildcats. An unfortunate end there for Olivia O'Donnell, but gets the stick. Front double twist for Angelica Labat. A little bit of lack of control, but no lack in amplitude and power. This is a nice switch leap into a split full. That back leg might have been a touch low on the split full second skill in that combination, but impressive height.
Impressive height for an impressive
And
gymnast.
shown
Angelica
herself.
Labat is Illinois State's first ever NCAA Championships qualifier. Both in the school history are competing here today. Labat, the final couple of passes here.
1.5 into front layout, really well done. That's the control that you're looking for. Maybe didn't quite get it on the front double twist, but got it there.
Olivia O'Donnell's routine is concluded, by the way, for Illinois. Mia Takakawa will close things off, and another consistent worker, but you've got to maintain your focus in that anchor spot. Another big pass there from Labat.
Mallory Mizuki is the score they're now looking to count, the 9.825, maybe initially trying to drop, but a 9.0 for Olivia O'Donnell. Looking for Mia Takakawa to capitalize on her impressive lines and swing to replace that score. Maybe it still could be quite a usable score for Illinois as long as Mia can do what she does.
Taking the beam, meanwhile, is Raina Worley, world-class gymnast for Kentucky.
Absolutely,
in
she
the
is
fifth
their
spot.
star. Beautiful switch side to start. Had a career low on balance beam of a 9.625 last week. Watching Mia Takakawa's Pike Jaeger, that is important. She got her hands on the bar. Good cast handstand, very aggressive, and a beautiful bail. She's going beautifully through this routine.
As is Raina Worley on the
Unfortunately,
balance beam.
did cast over on that kept cast handstand. She did well to stay on, not going to be a massive deduction, not going to be the same as a fall. She could really use a stuck dismount, a little bit of a slide, so probably going to be more in that 9.7 range, hopefully, for Illinois. Not the bar rotation they're looking for, but definitely better than counting a fall. It's been a bit of the story for Illinois. They're getting really 4 great scores, but just struggling to find that 5th, particularly on the bars. But dismounting a 1.5 twist, stuck
Fix it.
dismount. That is a great redemption for Raina Worley. I'm going to expect that is going to be well into the 9.9s. Teammates are chanting for 10. Not sure they're going to give it today. Saw a little bit of lack of split on her leap combination, but minor deductions.
We'll certainly keep an eye out. Labat, by the way, had a 9.875 for
Beautiful
Illinois State
floor
on the
rotation.
floor. This has been a strong one
Incredible.
for the Redbirds.
Raina Worley is probably the most talented gymnast in the NCAA to not have a 10 in her career, so certainly of earning of it in terms of just her preparation and her talent level. Interested to see in her 4th year. She hasn't announced whether or not she's going to take that COVID year yet, but so talented, so important to this Kentucky team in terms of leadership and just overall gymnastics ability. Would hate to see her go.
Now, what's it going to be for the Wildcats? There's a rousing. There may be
Looks like
potentially at
maybe
least
one judge
10.
through the 10. No, 9.95 from one. 9.9. 7.5. So one
7.5.
judge did give her that coveted 10. Mia Takakawa 9.675. We're gonna have to count. So right in that 9.7 range. See Narelle Bart Williams doing her floor rotation. Another Rudy to layout step out. Beautiful control. And Bella Magnelli to follow a 9.975 for her. She's gotten a pair of them herself. She does some beautiful balancing work. Another one of these triple series, backhand string into 2 layouts. And her heels were off the side of the beam, but did well, stayed calm, and went without a wobble.
Incredible strength.
Beautiful.
That's a mark of an athlete who has really broken out this year.
Absolutely. Switch leap into straddle quarter, no wobbles again. She has an incredible range in her split in that straddle side position. Looks like we have a bit of a graphic in the middle of the screen, but front aerial, maybe a tiny adjustment. The judges this year have been shown to be forgiving of those. If you fight really hard to go without a waiver, if it's a tiny wobble, they might forgive it. So interested to see what goes on here. She just has her gainer pike dismount left, and she has been known to stick it, and she gets it again. 9.975 for Raina Worley. Who knows? She has also not gotten a 10 in her career. That's going to be at least 9.95 if I had to guess. Just the smallest baby waiver on the front aerial. We're from a different angle, the judges. Maybe the side angle, it wasn't as pronounced, but what we've seen this year in the national environment of judging is that there's a lot of judges that would not take that, to be frank. So If they go 10, I wouldn't be shocked. It's a 9.95 for me, but still an excellent beam performance. We'll see Abby Miller go through an exhibition.
Should be the final exhibitionist, a 9.7 flat for Michaela Green.
Finishing with a beautiful, I don't like that, 9.90 for Isabella Magnelli. I thought that was a stronger routine to Raina Worley. Hopefully they're not scoring the athlete, they're scoring the routines. Sometimes you do see it, unfortunately, but Abby Miller going to show off a straddle Jaeger, Kip Cass Hansen right on top. She's been in lineup a couple times this year.
As an all-arounder,
Got slid out for Amelia Knight this week, but Norel Bart-Williams, a 9.9 for Illinois State, scores their building, and their anchor is Jay Mack, one of their NCAA qualifiers last year.
They're second of two. That is indeed the case. Jay Mack is going to hopefully close a really strong floor routine. With
unfortunately, a bit of a dramatic fall for Annie Riegert, but she's okay, just very off on her side aerial back handspring. But let's turn the attention to Jay Mack as well. She showcases a beautiful first pass. I believe the only person in this competition who's going to do one. Really impressive for Annie Riegert to go up there and fix her mistakes and do a beautiful side aerial back handspring series in her second attempt. But let's watch this first pass as well. Full twisting double pike.
She has been unbelievably consistent this year, has Jay Mack.
Chest up, beautiful.
Wow. Unbelievable.
A little bit of a wobble in her shoulders. Tried very hard to keep that front foot planted to go for a perfect lunge, but judges might take half-tenth there. Switch leap to back tuck for Annie Riegert, staying cool and collected despite the fall earlier.
Jay Mack is coming off her lowest score on the floor since the season opener, a 9.8 flat. She's hit her career high of 9.925 5 times throughout her career, twice this year alone.
1.5 twist for Annie Riegert to finish. Pretty well done. Now all eyes on Jay Mack to finish up. She's going to do a combination for her second tumbling pass, front tuck through to double back. Has incredible momentum, and the scores are building for Illinois State. Beautiful height on the front tuck into a double pike. A little bit of a shuffle, but a minor deduction. Couple things to take. That first pass's lunge was not perfect, and neither was the last, and the leaps maybe lacked a touch extension, so depending on what the judges are focusing on, my guess is they're going to take for both those passes. Whether or not it dips into the 9/8 is interesting to see what the judges are looking for. The floor judges really did appreciate what Illinois State had going on in terms of amplitude and high difficulty tumbling. They had many E-passes, a lot of combinations that maybe some other teams don't have. Is their strongest event by far.
Well, I will eagerly be awaiting Jay Mack's score, as I'm sure many others will. That was a really good rotation for Illinois State, especially considering how much of a challenge the early beam routines proved to be for the visiting Redbirds. So we will await the final score of Jay Mack. And for these 3 rotations, we'll take a short break in the meantime, though, here from Huff Hall. Get those second rotation scores here and more for you in just a moment here on Big Ten Plus. We welcome you back to George Huff Hall here at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign for a spring break tri-meet. The Fighting Illini hosting the Kentucky Wildcats and the Illinois State Redbirds. You saw it on your screen there. Kentucky maintaining a healthy advantage of 49-375 on the beam. Not bad at all. Illinois with a 49-05, and then a strong floor rotation for Illinois State. A whopping 49-425 for the Redbirds, capped by a 9.95 from J Mack. It was a strong routine, but our expert's opinion here, Connor McCool, saying maybe just a touch on the higher end of what you would have expected. Nonetheless, solid routine, great routine.
Beautiful floor routine. She did have a couple adjustments on her landing, so I would have probably taken at least a half 10 for each of those. But what it said to me was that she was convincing enough to the judges on that first pass that they didn't take it. They definitely took for that second one. It was by far the highest level of tumbling difficulty, which does play, it's a subjective sport, it does play a part in the scoring. So the judges felt, coupled with her extra floor difficulty, her performance quality, and just absolute perfection in her action tumbling, they felt it was worth rewarding. I'm not too upset about it, to be honest with you, but I was just a little bit surprised based on how they were scoring the other routines.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, they were such great routines leading up to that one. You would have expected higher scores for maybe a properly judged 9.95. Maybe they're a little bit harsher on the other 5, but the Redbirds dropping Sarah Wabi's 9.825. Not a bad mark for them whatsoever.
Just about any team in the country would be thrilled with that floor performance, so they should be very happy coming off of a little bit of a weaker beam rotation with a couple falls.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Illinois State would definitely be in the mix with these two had it not been for those early falls on the balance beam, where Illinois now ventures. They had an almost otherworldly rotation on the beam last time they were at Huff Hall, a program record mark against Michigan State. Near perfection from the athletes. They'll be hoping to continue that streak here, and then the Wildcats will move to the floor. Some explosive floor routines on the cards for the Wildcats, and then Illinois State will be on the vault track right in front of us. Head coach Bob Conklin staring close by, just a few feet away from us here in the red. Far right of your screen, you can maybe see him. That's 40-plus years of coaching experience on the shoulders of Bob Conklin. But in the meantime, we're just a few seconds away from the rotation number 3 getting underway here. Again, Illinois on the beam, Wildcats on the floor, Redbirds on the vault. So, I mean, it's been a high-octane tri-meet here at Huff Hall to get things going. Kentucky with a pretty healthy advantage in terms of competition scoring, but this is what you want. Illinois maybe a little bit behind where they would like to be, but they're going to need a big beam rotation that they have proven to be capable of this year.
Yeah, these final 2 events are their strongest. They're going to need a little bit more than perhaps they wanted to at this point from each of these rotations to hit that coveted 197 mark. They've gone 49.5 on both of these rotations in the past this season with the 49.675 program record, and last season they've gone 49.5 on 4. It's absolutely possible, but they're going to need some lights out performances. Just a couple interesting things on bars. A more consistent worker, Olivia O'Donnell falling again on the uneven bars. And then Mia Takakawa casting over on that low bar. Wasn't a massive deduction, but definitely not what they're looking for. She's usually a 9.9 plus bar swinger, so that was 3/10 that they kind of lost just in that routine. So looking at this beam lineup, it's kind of the more typical one we've seen from this year. Amelia Knight, Mallory Mizuki, Abby Miller, Mia Towns, Rutuja Nataraj, and Mia Takakawa. Same exact lineup that did do that 49.675, so we know they're talented, and they know they need a big lineup here to increase their NQS standing.
It'll be Caitlin Donovan to get things underway on the vault for the Redbirds. Taking the beam will be Amelia Knight, and then it'll be Jillian Prokaski for the Wildcats on the floor. Our TriCast back underway, as will these 3 teams be. We'll see who gets started first. It looks like Amelia Knight is going to win the race, or will she? This is the tense moments of who's going to kick things off here. A couple extra moments for Amelia Knight. Sharp breath from Caitlin Donovan. And we are underway on the vault. Donovan.
Full twisting Yurchenko. You can see her right hand slipped a little bit on the table, but managed to get her feet down anyway, which is very impressive. Jillian Prokaski starting off. Kentucky utilizes a lot of these 2-pass floor routines, which usually requires either 2 incredibly difficult passes or an additional leap. She did a ring jump with a full twist. Maybe didn't quite hit the position like you're looking for, but definitely will get credit perhaps with deduction, but led off with a beautiful front layout to full twist. Amelia Knight, beautiful beam worker. Gonna start us off with her leap combination. Showed a beautiful candle mount to enter the beam. Switch leap into the split leap as well. Really well done. Switch ring to the tour jeté half for Jillian Prokaski as she enters her second tumbling pass. Gonna finish off with a double back and an aerial back handspring for Amelia Knight. Very off, but manages to finish with just a small wobble and a beautiful double back to finish for Jillian Prokaski. So keeping pace with what Kentucky's been doing all day with this leadoff vault.
Second ball here, J Mac.
And she stuck one in warm-up and stuck it again.
Beautifully done by J Mac once more. She picks up right where she left off on the floor and lands that one with some conviction. That's a great routine to open things up by Jillian Prokaski. We've talked about amplitude all day, and she had plenty of that in her passes. So.
And Amelia Knight finishing with a gainer full, maybe a touch and a slide, but what's impressive is I saw her come off on a couple of her side summits, which you saw in that routine. She managed to stay on today. A reasonable start for Illinois, a couple bobbles here and there, but not a fall, which is important. Going to keep that momentum going up for the rest of their beam lineup, which we know is incredibly strong with Mallory Mizuki coming up, a fifth-year senior who can do some incredible balance beam work.
A 9.75 for J Mac, so maybe just a touch under what you would have expected, and you know maybe it's a little bit of balance, if you will, but J Mac's 9.75.
It was hard to tell as I was trying to watch three routines at once, but maybe it wasn't a perfect stick, so a slight slide there, but she did show a really nice height.
Now it'll be Jay Shell Hurd for the first time today for the Redbirds here on the track.
Got a nice vault as well. Full twisting Yurchenko, a little bit of a slide, but that was impressive amplitude, and she's happy about it, rightfully so. Got close to those corridor lines, but didn't go over it, so probably will go without deductions as we saw for some other vaults. Prokaski for Kentucky leads off with another 9.85. She's just super, super consistent for them and showing it off once again. We do not have the score for Amelia Knight yet. Interested to see how they fare.
We see it's a 9.825 for Jay Shell Hurd, so best mark of the day so far on the vault for the Redbirds.
These judges are rewarding height and distance, similar we saw from Michaela Green, who did a similar vault, a little bit off center, but extremely good height and was rewarded similarly. So not surprising at all. Narelle Bart-Williams, an all-arounder for Illinois State. Another, a 1.5 twist with a big step forward, and Bridget Bork for Kentucky on the floor with a massive full twisting double back to lead off. Saw her warm it up, was excited to see her compete it today as Mallory Mizuki mounts the beam.
This is where you can feel the intensity heightening as we have beam and floor workers simultaneously the rest of the way here at Huff Hall.
Oh, 9.725, it's adjusted to for Amelia Knight. A little bit more in tune with what I was expecting. Full turn was good for Mallory Mizuki into her series, and it was on. Bridget Bork's second pass was a 1.5 to front pike. The front pike lacked height and was a little bit out of control, so not as strong as her first pass as Mallory Mizuki showcases her switch leap into straddle quarter. Didn't quite get her chest all the way around to that quarter position, but really nice position in the 180 degrees as we just saw a stuck 1.5 twist for Alana Lasker. She does that all the time. I'm not surprised.
You could probably hear it on our microphones. The Redbirds screaming past just a few feet away from us to greet their teammate. I mean, that was a big-time vault for Alana Laster, and you can see why they're pleased with the Kentucky Wildcats through Bridget Borkasi. That one closed, and then Mallory Mizuki with a big dismount.
Beautiful routine once again for her. What a way to close out her Huff Hall career as she is done for the day with a beautiful beam routine. They needed after just a 9.725 for Amelia Knight. Alana Laster comes through with a 9.925.
Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful vault. Bridget Bork, unfortunately for Kentucky right at the end, kind of got lost in all of that. Was stepped out of bounds on her double back. So going to be a lower score than this Kentucky team is looking for, especially with their talent on the floor exercise. But if there's a gymnast who can stick a 1.5 on vault, it's Alana Laster, and then it's Angelica Labat, who qualified to the NCAA championships on this event. She sticks it.
Fresh off of a big-time floor routine, here she comes with the vault.
Powering down the runway, massive height, and didn't get the landing, but what she had that Angelica Labat didn't was unbelievable height and distance. Angelica Labat was, Alana Laster was probably deducted for lack of height and distance. That's why she only got that 9.925. If she stuck that, that would have been close to a 10 because there wasn't anything else to deduct. So
3 rotations down for Illinois State. Bridget Bork, I think it was a 9.75. I didn't see the final number. They scrambled it right at the last moment, but 9.7 something for Bridget Bork, so still lower than she would have wanted.
I believe 9.70, which makes good sense considering the 10th auto deduction for going out of bounds. 9.875 came through for Mallory Mizuki, a good bounce back score.
It's also
as Ariana Patterson mounts the floor with a 1.5 to front layout. She does a more simple routine in terms of tumbling, just 2 passes, but she does really difficult leaps, utilizing that ring position as Jillian Prokaski did as Abby Miller mounts the beam.
Looks like it was a 9.875 for Labat's vault as well.
As I said, on the other vaults, they are rewarding amplitude, and she showcased the most of it anybody in this gym. A nice switch ring half for Ariana Patterson. Maybe a little bit short of that ring position. You're really looking for the heel to be close to the forehead. But Abby Miller goes back handspring layout, step out. Just a little unsure of herself on the landing. A small bobble, not a big deal by any means. Ariana Patterson continuing through her floor routine. 2 switch leaps in a row for Abby Miller, and they were perfect. No wobbles. I have to tell you, I was watching Illinois yesterday in their practice, and they did an unbelievable beam rotation with no wobbles whatsoever from any of their lineup, showcasing similar stuff today as Ariana Patterson finishes her floor routine with the double back just a little bit short. Probably going to take a deduction for it being short and the step forward as Abby Miller dismounts with a 1.5 and just a small hop. It's going to be interesting to see what they score that. She had a little bit of a bobble on the back hamstring layout step out and a hop on the dismount. So in terms of visible deductions, you could justify as high as 9.9, but it would not surprise me if that was maybe more in the 9.8 to 9.85 range.
We'll see what the judges think and how much they agree with our Connor McCool here. Abby Miller still looks very poised, has that poise of an experienced gymnast, and we'll be looking forward to seeing more of that on the floor in just a few minutes.
Bella Magnelli doing her floor routine. She has a very smartly constructed routine. You know, some of the people that utilize the 2-pass floor routines know that they need to do more leaps, but they don't have as strong leaps as they do tumbling, so they open themselves up for deduction by having to do other extra leaps. Abby Miller, 9.85, right where it should be, because if she did a perfect back handspring layout step out and stuck the dismount, I wouldn't have been asking for a 10, so I'm glad they did take a deduction somewhere else, because it isn't a perfect, the leaps are a little bit soft, or the front toss wasn't completely sure. That's a good score for that routine. They'll be very happy.
They're going to post a 9.9 for Ariana Patterson on the floor, so that's more like it for Kentucky. Solid mark for Patterson. Do you agree?
I'm a little surprised. The code prescribes, the code of points, which is the rules in gymnastics, the code prescribes if you take a step forward, you're supposed to get a 10th or a half 10th at least for the step, and then another deduction for being, it's showcasing that you were not fully rotated on that skill. So she really should have gotten double deduction, and between that pass and the rest of the routine, it wasn't a perfect set. So I would have been more in the 9.85, 9.8 range, but she does have really well done leaps and execution in her passes. Mia Towns mounts the beam as Bella Magnelli showcases. We've seen a few of those Rudy layout step outs today, and that was the best one. Incredible height on that second skill.
Magnelli hit a 9.775 in her last outing against Auburn. She's hitting above a 9.9, at least a 9.9 this season.
At least she has a 9.975 career high on the floor, definitely on the beam, and she scored up in that 9.9 range. But look at these leaps. Switch side into the Popa straddle full, far above the 180-degree splits. If you want the judges to not deduct for position in the leaps, then you have to go above and beyond, and she does that. As Mia Towns showcases her cat leap to front toss, solid as a rock. Mia Towns style is a double pike finishing for Bella Magnelli. A little bit of unsureness, but the rest of that routine was really well done. Back handspring layout for Mia Towns.
Flawless from Mia Towns.
So well done. The only thing you could say about her is she doesn't have quite the same footwork and form. Her toes aren't completely pointed. Her knees aren't entirely straight. So she does leave an opening for the judges to deduct. But in terms of just preparation on the beam and ability to do her skills well and consistently. She does this week in and week out. She's finishing off with her 1.5 twist dismount. Hard dismount to stick, but she sticks it all the time. See if she can get it again, and she does.
She does.
Copy and paste for Mia Towns from week to week.
Came down with a lot of weight behind the dismount, but she was able to maintain it and get the stick. That's strong and composed beam work from Mia Towns. You saw Isabella Magnelli get the BOA as well. That's 4 routines down. For each of these rotations, we'll eagerly await the scores, as you can definitely see the temperature is cranking up in here at Huff Hall.
No glaring deductions there for Mia Towns, but as I said, she just doesn't have the perfect form that you see from someone like a Reina Worley or a Mia Takakawa, as we'll see enter the beam in a couple people, or even Rutu Nataraj, who's going to come up next. She has beautiful footwork.
It's another 9-9 for Kentucky, a 9-9 for Isabella Magnelli.
And that one I'm okay with. It was a really well done routine, beautiful leaps, beautiful first pass, just a little bit of adjustment on that second double pike. 9.85 comes through for Mia Towns. So as I said, wasn't really any visible wobbles, but there are things to deduct. Some people just do the skills more perfectly, and that's something she's going to be working on in the rest of the season. Going to regionals, there are more harsh judges. She's going to want to improve that footwork and a little bit of knee form if she wants to break into those 9.9s with the more experienced national judges.
Here is Rutuja Nataraj, the 5th beam routine. She has come into her own in her sophomore campaign.
And Haley Davis is here on the floor. She has some unbelievable tumbling. Qualified to the NCAA championships as an individual, as Kentucky missed out last year. Beautiful double pike. And for Rutu Nataraj, a great backhandstand layout step out. Look at those leaps, the extension, the amplitude. Nobody does better leaps in this building, maybe in the country, than Haley Davis. Switch side to Popa, and there's a switch leap to straddle quarter for Rutu Nataraj. She's through most of the difficulty in the routine, has a front aerial left. There's Haley Davis, 1.5 layout. She struggled quite a bit in the warm-up and in the touch warm-up just right before on trying to get that front layout landing, and there's a little bit of a bobble for Rutu Nataraj. Just let her shoulders come off to the side a little bit at the end. Didn't look too off, but if you let your mind waver for a moment, things can go incredibly wrong on beam. And another little adjustment on that full turn. She just has her dismount left.
See a little bit of flair that Nataraj adds as she prepares for the dismount, which she gets with a small hop.
Small slide forward. Let's watch Haley Davis finish up with hopefully a big double tuck. And
wow. That was a big double tuck indeed.
So just a little bit of an adjustment. The front layout should have rose on her second combination pass and had a little bit of a crossover step. So the judges will deduct there. But in terms of her first and second pass and the leaps, she does them better than just about anyone. Maybe their final competitor, Reina Worley, could change my mind about that, but super well done. I mean, she qualified. She doesn't have that big E tumbling pass, but which requires you to maybe do your gymnastics to an extra level of perfection if you're not showing that extra difficulty. But she was able to qualify through to the national championships with a 9.95 at regionals last year. She's got 9.95 all the time. So interested to see if they find anything else off besides that middle pass. They could take a 10th very justifiably. So if it's in the 9.9 range, pretty fitting.
Well, here you have 2 of the better anchors in the country at their respective events.
Interesting.
Is that a 9?
Yeah, judges are a little bit in disagreement. One judge felt that the 1.5 layout wasn't a big deal, 9.95. The other judge was a little bit more deducting with a 9.85. So you're allowed to have, for judges with, or routines, excuse me, with minimal deduction, you're allowed to have a 2/10 split between the judges. So just a 1/10 is not a big deal. They'll still average it. They'll get a 9.9. It should be a 9.9. That's incorrectly flashed, actually. One judge showed the 9.95, the other 9.85, so that should...
It's a tough 9.7, meanwhile, for Rutu Nataraj. You can see it on your screen. Mia Takakawa will anchor on the balance beam, and again, Reina Worley on the floor once again.
Two
strong, incredible routines.
Workers on these respective apparatus. Side aerial back handspring for Mia Takakawa. Perfect. And we're going to watch for this first pass. Hopefully they let us see it from Reina Worley. I know some Twitter fans will be very upset if we miss this floor routine. They're going to show one routine at a time, apparently. Because Mia Takakawa's is also very important. Beautiful full twist and double back. Managed to let us sneak in both of those important skills. Switch leap to straddle quarter for Mia Takakawa. Most of her routine is out of the way, just the dismount.
See
That is a
two different
beautiful-
angles on top there for Takakawa,
There you
but
go.
Reina Worley dominating the bottom of the screen there with her floor.
That full twist and double back for Reina Worley was extremely well done. She's got 2 more passes. This one's going to be a full twist into a front layout. And Mia Takakawa just has her dismount left. I gotta be honest with you,
sticks it.
Alec, that could
That
be
looked
a
really
10.
good. That looked really good, and
It was beautiful.
This is
Not
the-
a wobble. Beautiful leaps coming off of also Reina Worley, who's got an unbelievable one going. This is some incredible gymnastics.
this is what it's
going
all
on.
about, folks. Reina Worley's going to close out the scoring here. We'll eagerly await the rotation for Mia Takakawa. This is the 3rd time Connor and I have been on the call for a Mia Takakawa balance beam routine, and both times at least one judge has given her a 10. We'll see how many do so.
I really
for
hope
today.
so. They threw a 10 for Reina Worley.
She's not going to be
on
far
beam.
behind.
Oh, and another
Wow.
routine for Reina Worley. I'm okay with a 10 for both of those. Let's see what they do. I'm glued to the judges.
Oh my
turning around.
goodness, all eyes are on the judges between the floor and the balance beam. What a way to close scoring. Takakawa's pretty excited. Teams are eagerly awaiting the scores here. Barely a movement. It's all silent right now with the Illinois team. Lots of deliberations. You never want to give out 10s too easily.
A lot of deliberation, which is making me wonder.
Are they spotting it?
Let's see what they're going for.
You can see some smiles on the coaching staff. We're going to see they're still not decided over on the beam. They're taking more time on the floor,
One
as you might
judge
imagine.
Oh, there is a judges conference.
Oh, wait just a
I do
second.
not know what they could possibly be talking about in terms of start value. Maybe they thought her leap series was too slow, so they didn't give her credit for it.
Takakawa is seeing the funnier side of it with her teammates. You see Rachel
A
Borden and
10
Mallory
for-
Mizuki.
Oh, it's a 9.975 for Reina Worley.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
livid about it as well.
Well, that is huge for Reina Worley, but possibly warranting a 10. They are still deciding the balance beam score for Mia Takakawa. They flip the start value. They're gonna. What is the decision?
I surely hope it's going to be a 9.
It's a 9.925.
Okay. Interesting move by the
Wow.
judges. I thought that was equal quality to Reina Worley's balance beam routine. I also thought they lowballed Isabella Magnelli as well on the beam. Very interesting. She went 9.975 with a routine with visible errors basically 2 weeks in a row. Interesting that this is the routine they chose to be strict on.
We saw Rachel Borden with her unique taking of the beam. Heavily experienced beam worker. Quite the story with her. Was not a varsity gymnast with Illinois at first. Was looking at club gymnastics after her first year. Sent her audition tapes, if you will, to head coach Natalie Walsh, who said, "Welcome to the varsity team." She's been there since. Graduate student this year is Rachel Borden. And then meanwhile, exhibition, Carissa Clay for the Wildcats on the floor.
Beautiful double tuck to open for Carissa Clay. Incredible high. I saw her warming up. I couldn't believe just how high her even warm-up layouts were. And a nice beat jump to sheep jump, for Rachel Borden. Glad she gets to do a beam routine here in Huff on senior night. Really interesting combination there for Carissa Clay. A switch side with a half twist into a popa, and what a finish.
I think Borden gets
For
her
Rachel
stuck
Borden.
dismount. We'll see if they give it to her, but
I believe so. That looked like a stuck front full to me, and a great finish for what has been just such an incredible contributor for the Illinois team with her time with the program, deciding to stay on for another year. She's got a job lined up in Milwaukee for next year for Pepsi, so she's definitely could have started her life a little bit earlier, but decided to stay on, be a leader in and out of the gym for this team. And a great exhibition routine for Carissa Clay. That's going to be a 49.575 for Kentucky and a 49.225 for Beam. Unfortunately, having to count a 9.725 from Amelia Knight.
well, the energy is currently unmatched here in Huff Hall. I mean, routines like that will do it for you. There is just 0.075 points left on the table across the final 2 routines for Kentucky on the floor. A 9.95 from Haley Dalis and a 9.975 from Reina Worley. Illinois not too bad on the floor either. We'll see them in a couple of moments. It'll be the final exhibition first, though. Julia Waite, a 9.775 for Rachel Borden after her final routine here at Huff Hall. And then here is Julia Waite, senior this year as well.
Really happy to see her be able to exhibition. I see her day in and day out of the gym pumping out beam routines. You know, the people that are just outside of lineup don't get enough credit. They really push the boundary for the people in lineup, knowing that there are people clipping at their heels trying to break into that top 6. They serve an important role. There's a one-arm back handspring into a layout step out. This is, I believe, at least in a couple seasons or ever, first beam routine that I've seen in quite a while for Julia Waite in Huff Hall.
Maybe it's a senior day special. We'll see if we can verify it with our records here, but it's certainly been a while for Julia Waite, and you can tell she's happy to be on.
Yeah, she's still scheduled to be in the floor lineup, but just nice to let her just go out and do as many sets as she is. She's no longer does the uneven bar, so these are her 3 events. A little bit of a bobble on that straddle quarter, and a little bit of a bobble on that beat jump. She's just happy. The smile is beaming on her face. She does not really care what the outcome of this routine is. She's just happy to be able to go out and do something for the team today.
No pun intended there, Connor.
No, absolutely not.
We'll see the dismount here from Julia Waite.
1.5 twist, a little hop, couple hops there, but who cares for Julia Waite? Just so happy to see her be able to go out and do an extra routine. She has given so much to this program. Maybe hasn't gotten the competition that some other people on the team has had, but she's given so much in terms of leadership. She's a captain this year, and one of the unsung heroes for this program is behind the scenes. Really gotten to contribute a lot this season, which is so exciting on the floor exercise. Just super awesome to have her out here today, and just her contributions to Illinois and women's gymnastics are incredible.
Well, there you can see the posted scores. So Kentucky takes a full point advantage plus over Illinois. But not a bad showing at all for any of these 3 schools. In rotation number 3, we're going to take another break and then touch period as we enter our 4th and final rotation here at George Huff Hall. Stick around. We'll be back in just a moment here on Big Ten Plus. We welcome you back to George Huff Hall here at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. The Fighting Illini hosting the Kentucky Wildcats and the Illinois State Redbirds in a try-me to close out the regular season. Alec Gilmore here alongside Connor McCool. It has been a fun one here on this spring break Saturday at the University of Illinois. Kentucky with a healthy advantage. Still plenty on the line for the Wildcats, though, gunning for that night session appearance for the SEC Championships. What is the mark they need in this vault rotation for them to be able to get it?
Quick math, seen some conflicting numbers. I believe it's a 49.075 they're going to look for on the balance, or vault, excuse me, to surpass Auburn into the night session. That is a huge accomplishment for them, considering the parity in the SEC right now. They haven't been the night session since 2019, when Auburn was not nearly as much of a factor as they are right now, when Mizzou hadn't had their stratospheric rise. So super impressive for them. Every single person in the SEC is competitive with each other, so super cool to see them have this late rise in the season, and it's really in their hands right now. They've had control of this meet from start to finish. 49.075, barring some massive mistakes from a team that does not tend to do that, should be quick and easy. I'm excited. I'm excited for the Illinois floor lineup. It looks like we may have a debut full twisting double back for Abby Miller. She used it a lot in the club and has been toying us a little bit with warming it up at a lot of meets last year, but hadn't had the opportunity to compete it yet. Warmed it up really well. Rutu Nadaraj looks like she's going to enter back in the floor lineup after resting a sore Achilles last week.
Well, so she certainly has one of the more exciting floor routines in the country coming into this, and then debuting a new technique. I mean, that is something to behold. Illinois themselves probably looking for a 197. That's doable, but it's going to need some pretty high-level floor routines that these gymnasts are certainly capable of, but they're going to need not a lot to go wrong and a lot to go their way.
49.725, it is possible, but definitely with these floor judges, I'm not sure they're going to be willing to give it out, but you never know with the likes of Mia Towns, Abby Miller. They've had all 9.9 plus scores individually, so
Not to
I
mention
would love to
leading
see
off will be
something
Mia
like
Takakawa.
that, but
Absolutely. And then Illinois State will look to close things out. It's been a bit of a ride for them, you could say, for the Redbirds.
Absolutely.
Tough start on the beam, which is a difficult place to get things started for the day on that balance beam. Had a really strong floor rotation. And then after the vault, they'll be closing out on the uneven bars. And then it has to be said for Kentucky, this has got to be an interesting way to close things out. These short bursts of energy on the vault, for that to be how you finish the meet. I mean, is there a different approach to that? Do you have to temper your mind a little bit? Like, what is going through your mind?
really they're just looking for some stuck vaults. They're really good at sticks. We saw it on the uneven bars. We saw a few sticks on beam, and they stick a ton of vaults. Looking at Raina Worley has notched near that 10 mark. Mackenzie Wilson just last week stuck hers for 9.975. Isabella Magnelli has done the same. They have 5 10-0 start values, 2 Yurchenko 1.5s, and 3 of the more unusual handspring pike halves. Very interested to see if they can get some sticks tonight and throw some scores into the 9.95 range and really blow the score they're looking for out of the water, because they are not too far off from their program record right now.
No doubt about it.
We'll go 198. It's not an easy score by any means, but with the amount of 10-0 start values they have, it is possible.
They are certainly capable of putting up a number like that. If every scored vault earns a 9.9, I believe that would be enough, or would certainly get them very close. That'd be a 197.9 if I'm not mistaken. So
they're capable of a 49.5 on vault. They've done it this year.
No doubt about that. So could be seeing yet another program high. Not the first this season. They set one earlier this year against Arkansas with a 197.875, and in great position to notch that here. But in the meantime, Mia Takakawa will prepare to lead things off on the floor. The first vaulter for the Wildcats will be Jillian Prokaski. She salutes the judge. Actually, I think I may have just misread her gesture. She will salute the judges in a moment.
There it is. She will lead them off with a full twist in Yurchenko. Their only vault out of a 9.95, an extremely awesome statistic for them. More 10-0 start values you have. Wow, beautiful Yurchenko vault. Flared it out even at the end, just a small slide.
Not a bad way to debut for rotation number 4 for Prokaski. Now Mia Takakawa prepares.
As Carly Hawksworth finishes up for Illinois State with a double layout. Unfortunately, knees down, but this is maybe a weaker event for Illinois State, so they're really just looking forward to 5 counted routines. Now they have to do that in these final 5.
Mia Takakawa well and truly underway, but Mackenzie Wilson will be preparing her next vault for the Kentucky Wildcats shortly.
A big Rudy to split jump here for Mia, and it was super well done. Maybe a little bit more distance on that split jump than prescribed, but some judges may take that, some judges wouldn't. It was still an incredibly well done pass.
You're going to see evidence of Illinois head coach Natalie Walsh's hip-hop dance background in a lot of these floor routines. Takakawa prepares her next pass.
Wow, 9.875 for Jillian Prokaski. Really appreciated her height and distance and her preparation and landing. Just a small slide. One judge, that was all she took. As Mia Takakawa gives us a clinic on leaps, the switch side into a split full.
We're going to see Mackenzie Wilson's vault in just a couple of moments. Final talks, final words with coaches, and then Wilson salutes the judges. So next vault incoming shortly for Kentucky as Takakawa finishes on the floor.
Hopefully you guys get a peek at it. Unfortunately, just the end, a little slide on that pike half. She stuck it for a 9.975 last week. Won't get that today if the judges are deducting properly. You never know, but a 1.5 twist to layout for Mia Takakawa. Stay tight and beautiful. She struggled on that pass a couple times this season, but that was the best one. The best floor routine from Mia Takakawa this year, I would probably say.
So as we continue to figure out the TriCast, I think we're having slight, there we go. Good to see all 3 rotations there. We'll await Mia Takakawa's score, a 9.9 for Mackenzie Wilson. So
beautifully done.
Not a bad mark whatsoever. Kentucky in great position.
I think it's important to note Mia Takakawa just finished up what could have been her last routine in Huff Hall as an Illini. Hasn't announced her plans for next year. Obviously, everybody in this class has the option to take that COVID year. We're not sure what her plans are yet, but if that was her last routine in Huff Hall, it is a great way to go out as Ariana Patterson approaches the vault. Same exact vault we just saw from Mackenzie Wilson. She has stuck it many times before. Let's see what she can show off for us today. A little bit close to the table.
Got a lot of air, but very close to the table indeed.
Still a little bit of a step, not going to notch into the 9.9s as Ariana Patterson does, and it looks like 9.875 season high for Mia Takakawa on floor. Great lead-off score for Mia Takakawa.
Indeed, great mark for Takakawa. We get the first bars score, and they did have to count the fall with Carly Hawksworth, a 9-1, so disappointing ending on that dismount. Sarah Wabi concludes her uneven bars routine.
9.85 for Ariana Patterson. Quite frankly, that score doesn't add up to the scoring we saw from the other two teams, but with that step to the side, should have been a little bit more heavily deducted, and her distance to the table wasn't as good as some other people like Angelica Labat, who really utilized the whole mat, was on the very end. So a little bit interesting for me to see that there.
It's Julia Waite up next on the floor routine.
The senior for Illinois, as Bella Magnelli shows off another front pike half.
Ooh.
Chest forward, step forward. That one should be heavily deducted, at least 2 to 3 tenths just on the landing.
Yeah,
I've seen her do ones with much more amplitude than that, unfortunately. But
some nerves and some relief across her face as well. Right as she landed, she also was pretty close to the table on that vault.
Double pike for Julia Waite, and looked like she was going to be short. In her experience, was able to pull it out and make it look pretty darn good to me. It's interesting to see what they go for. Nice 1.5 layout for Julia Waite. 9.75. Once again, that score is just a little too high. That landing was incredibly short with the chest down and the step forward. Should have been at least 3 tenths off just on the landing. Seems to be, sometimes the judges have a little bit of a bias to those 10-0 start values. They'll score vault out of a 9.95 a little bit more harshly, and then the ones that are more difficult will give the benefit of the doubt. Nice bail to the low bar on the uneven bars for Illinois State. I believe this is Alana Laster. Takacha, massive late in the routine. Love when athletes do it like that. Raina Worley's going to show us a Yurchenko 1.5 as Julia Waite finishes her routine. Just a small step. That was a really well done vault and a really good finish for Julia Waite on floor.
That should exceed the 9.9 tier, at least match it. The close of Julia Waite's floor routine. Is it her last floor routine? She is another senior
Once
with the
again,
Illini.
yeah. Beautiful vault for Raina Worley there. A massive Yurchenko 1.5. She puts a clinic on for the judges to show. Good height, really good form. She sticks that vault almost more than she does it. That wasn't a stick today, but a 9.9 for Raina Worley. That's more in line for a score that I'd be expecting for a vault like that.
Now we're going to eagerly anticipate as Abby Miller prepares for her floor routine. It's been a little bit of time since she's been out here on the Huff Hall floor competing, so.
See some tears flowing, unfortunately, for some of these seniors, and Julia Waite and Mia Takakawa. But Abby Miller, I'm on the edge of my seat to see if we see a debut new pass. Interesting split by the judges, 9.85, 9.95 split for Julia Waite. So that'll average out to a 9.9, which is a career high for her. So what a way to finish her career in Huff Hall. She's going to go on to her master's school in SLU next year. Here's Bridget Borg, 1.5 twist, and that was the best one I have seen her do personally. Sometimes she struggles to finish the twist, a little bit lock-legged in the ground. That one had incredible height and distance, and she finished the twist well before she landed. I would be very happy for that, and I would tell you right now, they have a 197.675 without that score, and they will be headed to the night session of SECs, taking out Auburn.
Now here comes Abby Miller.
Let's see if she'll showcase a new pass as Norel Bart-Williams does an uneven bar routine with a beautiful Jaeger. Unfortunately, misses a toe shoot. Here we go, full twisting double back. First time as in college, unfortunately takes a step out of bounds, so that's gonna be an automatic 1/10 deduction. But really important that she got that on the competition floor before we get into postseason. 197.8, is that a program record? It's close, it's up there.
It is .075 short of a program record. Kentucky set a 197.875 against Arkansas a few weeks ago. A 197.8 flat here at Huff Hall today. Abby Miller off with a strong close. Norel Bart-Williams on the uneven bars for the Redbirds.
Abby Miller's gonna close with a double tuck on the floor. Had that step out of bounds, but her second pass and remainder of the routine have been impeccable. Double back, little bit of a hop to the side. Not going to be the score she's looking for, perhaps, but it's important she gets these difficult passes out on the floor before. You're not going to want to take risks at the Big Ten Championships, at regionals.
No
it's
doubt
just not going to happen.
You'd like to see the ambition at this time of the year, get used to it, and then Abby Miller, who she herself, having that little bit of an injury precaution, she'll undoubtedly feel some relief, some confidence in being able to put out a solid, ambitious routine here at Huff Hall.
She's done at least 3 events at every single meet this year, a couple all-around performances. That takes a toll on your body. So assistant coach Ross Thompson a couple weeks ago here at Huff Hall did take some precautions. Want to make sure she's not doing any routines she doesn't need to be. So they did pull her out of the lineup. She is healthy. Just at this point, most athletes are a little bit banged up, unfortunately. That's just the sport of gymnastics, going week in and week out, especially these all-around performers. It is hard.
So we're going to await for Rutuja Nataraj's next routine, and with a 197.8, that does solidify a nighttime slot for the Wildcats.
And I want to check on that, my math's correctly. I believe Raina Worley just showcased a 39.8 in the all-around today.
We'll get a confirmed look at that right here.
39.775, excuse me.
So very close, still incredibly impressive.
Yeah, that is one of the better days she has had ever.
She had a 39.45 against Auburn, and that was despite 9-9 scores in 3 of 4 events. It was her balance beam routine that undid her, but a lot better work on that today, and that's going to earn her, not that far away from perfection. Great work by Raina Worley today.
A 9.725 comes through for Abby Miller, so she got that 10th off for the out of bounds, as well as a little bit of lack of control on that pass. So the rest of the routine was quite well done. We'll see Illinois State with Julia Heiner. Yes, a nice Maloney the high bar, a little bit of a leg separation, but a nice skill we haven't seen a ton of today is Rutu Nataraj. She enters back into the floor lineup. She's going to showcase another full twisting double back to start. Warmed up a massive one just in the touch warm up. Hopefully we can see something similar right here. And it is big.
Wow.
That was a perfect execution there on the landing. She goes 3 leaps in a row, switch ring, switch half to wolf full. I mentioned the switch ring is a really difficult skill to hit as the rules prescribe. Rutu probably showed the best example of that today, getting her heel back to the crown of their head, as they put it, as much as anybody today. She's going to show guys this is their second and final pass, front layout to front full. Really well done. If I had to take a deduction, it probably a little bit of lack of control on that second pass, and based on Raina Worley not getting the 10, I wouldn't expect that for Rutu, but I would expect right around that 9.9 to 9.95 range.
She really has come into her own this season. Rutuja Nataraj, sophomore of Wallingford, Connecticut. Extremely proud of her Indian heritage as well. She has a lot of pride as an athlete, and she has really come into her own in her sophomore campaign.
Yeah, she spent the entirety of the summer traveling basically the world. She was in Doha, Qatar, at the Commonwealth Games as well, in England at different World Cups. She has been competing at high-level competitions for India, and I think that has done everything for her confidence. These are a little bit easier routines than she would have done there, so knowing that she's scaling it back a little bit, I think she's a little bit more cool and collected going into these routines, especially balance beam. Last year she was a little bit more reserved on the event, but this year she hasn't really fallen yet. This a 9.9 comes through for her as well.
I think I saw maybe a 9.8 and a 9.9 between the judges, looking at a 9.85.
Oh, 9.9
It is a
flat.
9.9 flat. It is in fact a 9.9 flat. I beg your pardon. So not bad there, deservingly so for Rutuja.
Really well done.
Caden Fitzgibbon now, who was not a consistent floor worker until earlier this season.
Yes.
Came on and won the floor title in her first ever meet competing on the floor.
She's been a rock star as she's entered this lineup. Illinois was kind of searching for that 6th consistent person in the lineup, and she has really just filled that role. She's going to show us a front layout into a 1.5 twist, one of those 3 10th passes I mentioned, and that was the best one she has done this season. The front layout was really good, and then the front 1.5 went up, which is exactly what the judges are looking for. That second skill needs to rise for no deduction. She did that, and with perfect control on the landing. We'll see she struggles maybe a little bit is in the leaps. The switch side to the split full. That switch side lacked a little bit of the 180-degree split prescribed, but she cleverly does it along the side. Maybe the judges can't see it as well. All about strategy and where you present your gymnastics. She's going to finish off with her second and final pass, a big double pike. You'll see she sets with an open body before she grabs her legs longer than anybody else, and it contributes to her height. She does probably one of the highest ones in the building.
It's truly beautiful to watch from Caden Fitzgibbon as she closes out here the penultimate floor routine.
Beautiful floor exercise performance for Caden Fitzgibbon. For me, the deductions were mostly on that leap combination as well as a tiny slide on that double pike. I would expect it to be right in that 9.85 range as we see
Angelica Labat will close things out here for Illinois State today.
an unbelievable toe on Tkachev. Super high, directly down to the bell of the low bar. Same combination as Amelia Knight, but she did it even bigger. She's going to finish up with a massive full twisting double back and just a small hop.
That little hop step there from Labat, all the major issue you can find with that routine. The Redbirds will see their final score tallied up to stack up against two mighty opponents in Illinois and Kentucky. Not a bad showing from the Redbirds. We'll get a final score as soon as we get it. But first, Mia Towns will anchor for this tri-meet, this regular season closing tri-meet for the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Looks like a, 9.925 for Kaden Fitzgibbon, so the placement of her leaps did evade the deductions that she potentially could have gotten. So 9.925 is career high for her, 49.325 for Kaden Fitzgibbon, or for the Illinois Fighting Illini on the floor without Mia Towns' score, and she is well capable into the 9.9s, done it many times this season.
Fitzgibbon is only a sophomore this year, so one of the younger members of this team, and like we said earlier, she has not even been a season-long floor competitor. She's found her way into the rotation, and she continues to set the mark already this early.
Yeah, she struggled a little bit with consistency earlier in the year. She got a chance to break into the lineup as they rested a few people, and she has not left since, and she's been a consistent competitor, 9.875, 9.875, and now 9.925. I don't believe she's going to leave this floor lineup for the rest of the season.
Now it'll be Mia Towns, all eyes on the floor.
As it should be every single time. This is a beautiful routine, so well choreographed. The showmanship that she shows is unbelievable.
Just in case you had any doubts about how much fun these gymnasts have in crafting their floor routines, look no further than Mia Towns.
You can't watch this routine and not have a smile on your face. Showcase a front double twist, and it was super well done. A little bit of a crossover step showcased that she wasn't fully finished twisting into the ground. You want that step to be controlled and directly forward. And just let her shine. She's gonna just do a two-pass routine for us, finishing off with a 1.5 to a full twist. Struggled with it the last time out here at Huff Hall, but this one was great.
Wow, fantastic work by Mia Towns.
This should be right there with Kaden Fitzgibbon for the highest score of this rotation. Just has her leaps to finish up this routine. It's a tour jeté half into a popa. Maybe lacking split just a touch on that first one, but
so
that
fluid.
was
so good from Mia Towns. She closed with Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, but definitely smooth with it was Mia Towns.
Absolutely.
We'll have a couple more exhibitions in Katie Ewald and Amelia Knight. At least that is on the cards, but that's going to do it for scoring. We'll get official scores for you momentarily, but in the meantime, we'll prepare for these final couple of showings here. Katie Ewald, the junior of Newburgh, Indiana, will be followed by junior Amelia Knight of Bristol.
A perfect 10 for Mia Towns would tie their season high, I believe. I don't think they will do that. I sincerely hope they don't. It was not the best routine we saw in this building today. 1.995, and I can't see the other judge, but it's right in that same range, so probably
looks like a 9.9 on the other side.
9.925.
So should be expecting a 9.925, barring any last-second decisions. They're still deliberating across the way a little bit.
The judges have to enter the scores into the iPad so that get entered into our website, so that's probably what she was looking for, that judge. But 9.925 is appropriate for that routine, absolutely. There were a little bit of errors, particularly in that first pass, but the rest was really well done. So Raina Worley wins the floor title today deservedly, as we see Katie Ewald, or Amelia Knight, enter in for her exhibition. She was a staple in the floor lineup last year, working her way back in, did a great exhibition against Ohio State, or excuse me, against Michigan State, did one against Ohio State and unfortunately fell, not due to lack of amplitude, really just mistimed her landing and rolled out of her second pass. But I saw her warm up really well today. This is going to be an E-pass, front double twist, and it was well done. This is a wolf hop into a switch half. The leaps tend to be a weak point for Amelia Knight, but those were some of the better ones I've seen. I see her working on it in the gym all the time, so glad to see that pay off in competition. This is the pass. We unfortunately saw her sit down against Ohio State in the exhibition spot. Hopefully chest up tall. Beautiful.
Much better.
That's what we're accustomed to seeing from Amelia Knight on that pass. She gets incredible height.
No question how much that's going to do for her throughout the rest of this campaign.
Absolutely. You'll see Amelia Knight's career high is 9.925. Katie Ewalds is up in the 9.875 range. For their exhibition spot, you can see the parity in the Illinois floor lineup. Beautiful finish. That's going to be probably right at the 9.9 range as well. You'll see all the options, how tough of a job the Illinois coaching staff has at picking this lineup, because anybody at any given time can go 9.9.
Well, that is outstanding work there from Amelia Knight. It won't be counted, but she will certainly be paying attention to that score. So that is the penultimate routine of the day. We will await. Actually, I think that may close it out, because I think Ewalds was supposed to be first, and I think judging by the fact that Amelia Knight went ahead and went, I think that may be a scratch for Ewalds, so we will await the decision. It's a 9.9 from one judge.
9.85 from the other.
So a 9.875 for Amelia Knight. It was a solid routine, maybe warranted a little bit higher potentially. It is an exhibition.
A little surprised. You never know how the judges kind of think about exhibitions differently than the lineup people. She did have the front double twist, maybe could have looked for a more perfect landing, kind of twisted directly into the ground. And the double back, you could have interpreted that as short, but looking at some other routines today, how they deducted, doesn't seem quite in line, but that's absolutely going to do a ton for her confidence, for the coach's confidence in her going into these next big meets for Illinois. She's absolutely an option that they might utilize. They know she's a good competitor. She was in floor lineup all last year, so she's not one that they'd be afraid to throw in for Big Tens or regionals. So
no doubt about that. We have the final official scores up for you, and we'll have more to say about that after a short break for one final time as we announce event winners. But you can see there Kentucky does get the win. Illinois within a point, but not a bad showing at all from any of these three teams here at Huff Hall. We'll step aside for one last time here today for one final break and come back with those final scores and event winners here on Big Ten Plus. We welcome you back to George Huff Hall here at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. The Illinois Tri-Meet has concluded. Kentucky victorious with a 197.8, a tenth of a point, within a tenth of a point, in fact, of another program high for this year. So still another strong score, peaking at the right time. Illinois also coming up just short of a season high, 196.8. Short by .075 from the mark they set last weekend against Ohio State. Illinois State coming with a 193.85, a little bit deceptive of just how strong their performance was on their vault and floor rotations. Some falls on the uneven bars and the balance beam undid them, unfortunately, because otherwise, I mean, Illinois State came in here and the Redbirds, it wasn't a bad showing.
No, absolutely not. Illinois State has been kind of a premier program on vault and floor, struggled a bit with the bars historically. Their beam team is not bad at all. They just had a bad day, unfortunately. It happens. They had a couple falls. Looking for that consistency, but the actual routines they put up and the quality of the gymnastics is very high. Just need to find that consistency, find a routine that works for them. So, yeah, obviously not the day they're looking for, but an impeccable floor rotation and showing off with some big vaults. They had more 10-0 vaults than Illinois, I believe. So, really impressive for them.
It should be noted that the Redbirds did start the day on the balance beam, as is the nature of the tri-meet format, and so to raise your adrenaline, but also being able to maintain your composure on something like the balance beam, that is a tall order. So credit to these Redbirds for coming in here. Definitely the underdog of these three teams, and they do place third, but not a bad showing from them whatsoever. As for the Fighting Illini, who will be celebrating Senior Day festivities after event results here, Illinois, once again, coming up short of their season best. Not quite the 197 they were probably looking for, but they did notch a program record on the floor, a 49.525.
Absolutely.
Best their mark from the Big Ten Championships recently, so very good for the Fighting Illini there. Now, they close the regular season with this meet. What's next for Illinois as they prepare for the Big Tens?
Really, it's just finalizing those final details. Bars, they had two of their solid competitors make rare mistakes. Olivia O'Donnell, that was like her third fall of her Illinois career in all of her 4 years, and two of them were in the past 3 weeks. So just a little bit of a rut she's fallen into. She'll spend these next couple weeks in the gym just fine-tuning her details, making sure that's not an issue. And Mia Takakawa, her mistake was due to going for perfection. And this is the last meet she had a chance to do that. So she knows now what is too far. She cast it over on that handstand. She made that mistake, but she's now not going to make that at the Big Ten Championship. So it's important if she was going to have to make a mistake, it was today.
Now, we'll have a quick word on Kentucky in a moment, but first we'll give some of those event results on the vault. Kentucky had a tie for second for both of them, Raina Worley and Mackenzie Wilson with 9.9 flats, and then it was Alana Laster of the Illinois State Redbirds that will get the vault title.
Beautiful
with a 9.925. Illinois' best result was Mia Towns' 9.85, but the podium swept by visitors. On the uneven bars, tied for third were 4 gymnasts, and actually it was 5, 2 of which were Well, the officially recorded three-way tie is Jillian Prokaski of Kentucky, Shaylin Luxick of Kentucky, and Amelia Knight of Illinois, all with 9.875s. In second place, Bailey Bunn's impressive 9.9 flat, and then taking the bars title, Raina Worley reigns supreme once more with a 9.925.
Beautiful.
So not bad whatsoever from her. On the balance beam, the Illinois Fighting Illini feature in second with Mia Takakawa at 9.925, and then it was Kentucky in those other podium spots, a 9.9 for Isabella Magnelli, and then a near perfect routine from Raina Worley, 9.975. We thought it bore a lot of similarities to Mia Takakawa's routine, but a 9.925, nothing to scoff at.
Absolutely
there.
not.
And then on the floor, it was a two-way tie for second place. Haley Davis of Kentucky and Jay Mack of Illinois State with 9.95s. Very impressive there, but Raina Worley with another 9.975. This one on the floor to take that title. She gets the all-around victory with a 39.775. Second place, the other Wildcat in all-around competition, Julia Prokaski with a 39.45, and then in third place, Angelica Labat with Illinois State. She was the highest of the Redbirds in the all-around competition at 39.225. So they'll announce the final team scores momentarily. You can see them on your screen there. Kentucky does get the victory. They get the nighttime slot in the SEC championships. What is the ceiling for this Kentucky team?
It's a job well done. This is what they came in to do. They probably weren't looking for a program record or anything near it. Sometimes the Big Ten scoring is a little bit tighter than what they are used to seeing in the SEC, but they came out swinging, had control of this competition from start to finish, and they earned their scores today. There was no crazy scores thrown out that with massive deductions that were getting 10s. None of that happened today. They performed impeccably, and they got that nighttime session, which is key for them to have a good placing at the SEC championships.
To be able to compete in this kind of environment will undoubtedly be beneficial for all of these teams. It'll be the Midwest Independent Conference that Illinois State will look to next. Illinois at the Big Ten Championships, and then there's Kentucky right there as they get their acclaim in their regular season closing victory, and they will be off to the SEC Championships. Now, we will be celebrating Illinois Senior Night here at George Huff Hall, so Connor and I will go ahead and step aside. We'll leave it rolling, though, so that we can acknowledge the seniors as they deserve. Connor, it was a pleasure once more to call this one alongside you. It is truly a lot of fun. This was a fantastic try-meet. We thank you all so much for joining us here on Spring Break Saturday here at the University of Illinois. But in this try-meet, Illinois State comes in third, Illinois in second, and Kentucky takes the title. So with that, folks, have a great rest of your weekend. If it is spring break for you, have a great spring break. But regardless, thank you all so much for tuning in. For our entire Big Ten Plus crew here, and for Connor McCool alongside me, I'm Alec Gilmore. Thank you all so much, and have a great weekend, everybody.